I was doing a podcast with Kevin Wilson, the great
Nice.
author Kevin Wilson. He's our People Still Read Books podcast.
I can see one of Kevin Williams' books on the shelf across from me. So,
Which one?
which one is it? It is nothing's the same. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, the Exploding Children book.
Yes, always a good time. This is The Other 51. I'm Brian, and this week my guest is author Will Leitch.
Thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Will. And I happen to have both books here, just conveniently located right next to me as well. How lucky. Okay. And the time has come. The new one that is out May 16th. Very excited. It is outstanding, man. Congratulations on this book.
Thank you.
It is so good. I loved it so much. I'm curious. So I am curious, and I don't think I've ever asked a novelist this. What's it like for you talking about this book now? Because like for us, it's brand new. Like we're just getting to know these characters, getting to know the story. You wrote this like what, a year or 2 years ago, and you're on to the next thing. So what's it like coming back to a work that's old for you but new for us?
You know, it doesn't feel old yet. It may. Even How Lucky actually kind of feels still kind of new. No, not as new, obviously. The way I structured this, because, I was very fortunate that How Lucky did well enough that they said, let's make some more. And I'm like, great. Because if a lot of people will be like, what's your plan? What would you like to do? I'm telling you right now, if things go according to plan, I will have one of these novels come out every 2 years until either I or my editor dies. Probably me. I'm a little older and I used to smoke. So it's probably going to be me. But so the point is that like I have a very, one thing that I am pretty good about is I'm very structured. I'm very organized. And so, for example, once I knew that I was going to do this, once we signed up for the 2-book deal, I knew that they were going to come out every other May. And so How Lucky came out May 2021. And so that I knew the next one's going to be due May 2022, and it would come out May 2023, which gives me about 9 months to write them. So right now, you'll know how The Time Has Come does, by the way, because we're gonna organize it around how well it does, what the next book is. If it does, you'll know if the next book is like a wacky Daniel and Travis mystery where they're like solving crimes out of their van. Right. This didn't do well. But not that I wouldn't like to write that book, but I'd like to keep doing something new every 2 times. So it still feels very new to me because honestly, not a lot of people have read it yet, and this is How Lucky, and this is different than How Lucky in a lot of ways, but one way it's similar is it is a little bit of a leap of faith, right? Like, this is not like I was talking to my friend, Jane Levy, the great Jane Levy. And she's working on a book project right now. And she showed me the book project. And I was like, oh my God, people are going to love this. B, you are going to write the shit out of this. This is going to be great. And now it's just a matter of like getting the amount of money for her that she deserves. But for me, I have no idea. Like because what I'm doing is so different than what I'm known for, and B, what I've generally done before. I have no idea how people are going to react to this stuff. And so, for me, so few people have read it that some people have read it, some reviewers have read it, and friends have read it, and my editors read it. But it's still, I can't wait to see what happens when it gets into the wild. Right? I was just talking to Kevin Wilson, my friend Kevin Wilson, and we were talking about this idea of, you can have the book locked down, have it be exactly what you wanted to do. And it doesn't matter because once it hits the wild, it no longer belongs to you. And the conversations that would develop around it have nothing to do with what may or may not have anything to do with what you initially intended or wanted. So that is a fascinating thing. And so I will talk about it forever. It's not old to me.
Okay.
It will probably feel old to me. How Lucky is starting to feel a little older to me, but like Deadspin feels old to me.
Right.
Talking about Deadspin feels old to me. Talking about how lucky or not that I don't like doing it. I love doing it, but that I feel is well trod territory that I'm always eager to talk about. But this still is still enough of a new late in life pivot for me. I'm always excited to talk about it.
And we haven't really talked a lot, but how lucky I mean, it was a great book and the reception it got was just tremendous. So what was that like for you to kind of see again? Because that was famously, and I say famously because I know about it, and it's in your newsletter, so it's famous to that community. You wrote the book and like literally dropped it, print out to your agent. So that was really kind of written, not on spec, I don't think, but you just kind of wrote it. What was it like to see that work kind of resonate with an audience the way it did?
It's weird because the last thing I was thinking about was an audience. and like I really just tried to make it. Now we edited it into something that we tried to Noah Eaker, my editor, is a very good editor. He literally just did like he does like real books, like he does like real people books, not like my books, and like he just did Dennis Lehane's book.
Okay.
Like that's like a real book. Like mine is not a real book. I mean, I hope it's a real book, but it's not Dennis Lehane. I trust his instincts. I trust what he thinks is going to work for a reader. But these things are always so personal and always so you never know whether it's going to connect with people. There's an ongoing comment that Tim Grierson and I, who do the Grierson Leitch podcast, we always talk about when we talk about movies, is our general theory is the more specific you make something, the more universal it will feel, because you will tap into a certain specific feeling. And even if someone has not had the experience that feeling, that provoked that feeling, they have probably had a experience that have provoked that feeling and therefore will recognize that. The example I always use for that is the movie Moonlight, the movie that one of my favorite movies of all time. And that movie, I share very little similarities and life experiences to the people in that movie, but I feel like I've lived the experiences of the people in that movie because it's so specific and therefore it feels all universal. So I always hope that my specificity will feel universal, but I never know until people actually read it. So for how lucky to have that experience was very exciting. The thing that I was most concerned about, to be honest, was that it would be it would be accepted by the SMA community. We had tried I talked to a lot of people individually, a lot of families with SMA, but I never actually talked to like the official organizations. We had tried to get the book to them, but it was during COVID and like no one was in the office, and they were obviously because of the vulnerabilities of a lot of people with the organization, people they're representing, they definitely were not getting together in person. So we just were unable to get the book to them until I was literally promoting it on Morning Joe, and the head of SMA was like, hey, that's the thing that I do that he's talking about. So we were very happy that they accepted the book and felt the book spoke to them. So that was the thing I was probably most concerned about. But I honestly, like, once it's out there, it doesn't belong to me anymore. Right. So I'm just happy that anyone picks it up. I just hope people find it. I was happy that people found How Lucky, and I hope people continue to find The Time Has Come.
So The Time Has Come. You should pre-order it if you're listening to this the week this episode comes out, or if you listen to it after, you should order it. Order it. So I was curious, did you start writing this book before you officially signed the book deal that you mentioned? Or did that come after? Okay.
No, in fact, what happened was it was once How Lucky came out and was clear that like it was finding an audience. I talked to my editor and I was like, I'm going to keep doing this, right? He's like, oh yeah, we have to. And so I said, let's do 2. Listen, if I could have, I would have signed a 10-book contract over the next 20 years at like a locked in low rate. Like as long as I know they're getting published, because that's a nice thing. It's not like a baseball contract, right? Like I always find it weird. I understand on one level why writers want to get as much money as they can, because A, it's money, and B, if you from a deal, and B, generally speaking, if you get a lot of money for a book, that shows the publisher to put some publicity push behind it. They have some skin in the game, and I understand that. But to me, it's not like a baseball contract. Like if I like the very terrible baseball contract, they still get all the money. Right. And it's all downside. If I get a certain contract and then I sell above that contract, I make more money. like this is the nice thing about it. Like it's not certainly Juan Soto is underpaid. Maybe not right now, but fine for Julio Rodriguez, I guess, is underpaid right now. But if he has MVP season, he doesn't get extra money because he had an MVP season. So for me, I'm willing to be a low risk person on money wise. I mean, I get paid for the books. I'm happy with them, but I'm happy. I'm happy to be a low risk person and then earn out and have the freedom to make the books that I want to make. And so because of that, with How Lucky, I kind of said, let's just do a 2-book deal. And the first one, let's try something that can be connected to How Lucky. It takes place in the same universe as How Lucky, in the same city. There are small characters in How Lucky that are big characters when the time has come, but it's not, I did not want to do like Daniel part 2. So so once it was kind of going well, we were able to kind of make some more strategic decisions on what we wanted to do. And I could also try something, that I think people that like How Lucky will find this book different. I think it's similar in thematically, but I think structurally and certainly scope of the story, it's certainly larger. And so because of that, once we made the deal, I was like, okay, now what are we gonna work on? And then once I had 3 or 4 different projects that I kind of pitched to my editor. And this was the one that we got most excited about. And so the other projects are still there, and I'm still thinking about them. And I will say again, we'll see if it's a wacky Daniel and Travis mystery for the 3rd book. But yeah, once we realized that's what we're gonna do, then I actually mapped it out. With How Lucky, I kind of wrote it seat of my pants. I kind of like just figured out, and we shaped it kind of in post. We'll do it in post. Whereas for this, I actually had the basic story structure down really when I kind of sat down to start writing, which actually helped me write it faster. It actually made me write it fast because I was never really at sea. I knew I was able to organize and put together the structure for the book while knowing, okay, today I'm writing Dorothy. Today I'm writing Jason. Today I'm writing David. And I was able to sit down and do that, allow them all to be separate. Like one thing I did not do, because there's 7 major characters, they're all very different. I think they all have very different voices. I would not write 2 in the same day.
I was just about to ask how you did that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would not write 2 in the same day. I would write David, and then I would put David away, and then I would go write somewhere else. I kind of wrote the book in chronological order in that way. And then I would come back to David once I'd had some perspective and had a better idea where the story was going. I did it that way. But yeah, I was definitely wrote the characters separately because I really wanted to be in kind of a different headspace for each one.
It really comes through in the book. I remember some of the, especially the early chapters. I'm thinking of the one, Daniel the Rock Club, or David's the Rock Club on too many D's. But that his first introductory chapter, I remember putting the book down when I finished that chapter. I'm like, that is a short story in and of itself. That first chapter of his, it was so richly drawn, and it makes sense. And I wanted to get into kind of mapping it out because, I mean, there might be some minor spoilers in the book, but it's not like an Agatha Christie novel where you're going to find out or we're going to give up who did it. But I'm curious about it because it's kind of like the 7 characters, and they kind of like have in the same universe, and then they all kind of converge at the end. And I love that as a story. So, in mapping it out, did you like have the end point and then kind of figure out how they get there? Did you kind of have the people, and then did the character come first or the plot come first here?
The character always came first. I knew what was going. I knew. For those that have never read the book yet, basically the idea is there's this woman named Tina Lamb who she's kind of inspired by that kindergarten teacher that stormed the Capitol, that was not doing it for like to stop the steal, but legitimately felt like there were like babies being abducted and trafficked in the bowels of the Capitol because she's been on. Because I don't know what it was, if you remember, Brian, but it was kind of a harrowing, scary time for everybody in 2020, and it was an isolating time, and everyone was kind of home by themselves. And so she's kind of inspired by her, where she believes that something terrible is going on at this pharmacy called Lindbergh's. And so literally the first chapter of the book is her saying, today's the day. It's June 24th. Today's the day I'm going to go in there. Well, I've got my weapon, and I'm literally going to go in there, and I'm going to find out, and I'm going to they're going to tell me what's going on. I have to stop. I have to be the one to do this. And then we cut to the morning of June 24th, where we follow these 6 different characters individually and Tina pops up throughout the book to kind of tell us her plan. And then they all end up at pharmacies at June 24th, the time that she shows up, and then we see what happens. It's inspired by the Robert Altman movie Shortcuts, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. But because it's not available for streaming anymore, I usually just say Magnolia, because Magnolia is a similar sort of thing. But anyway, so I knew they were going to end up in this place, but I did not, and I knew who the characters were. but that was kind of all I knew. And I definitely did not know what was going to happen when they got there. In fact, I definitely did not know that until I actually had all of the character stuff written and all of it and all the Tina stuff, all because each character has 3 different sections. I had all that written, all the Tina stuff written, all of that was done. Now we would go back and fix a lot of stuff later, but
Hmm.
certainly the first draft was completed. And I was like, okay, so now we're at Lindbergh's. What's going to happen here? And I kind of at the last minute decided I just do a basic, straightforward 3 act structure, which allowed me to give story beats and have all the things that connect about them all kind of have in that moment. But so I would say that like I had the skeleton of everything put together, but I certainly did not know what happened at the end. There were several different possibilities that I did not know. There were certain ways that my editor was pushing me not to do
Okay.
that we did not end up doing those. But I would say otherwise, I did not. I wanted the characters to develop organically, and therefore, once they developed organically, when I got there, their reactions would be true to the stories that we've already
Right.
learned. And that was kind of exciting for me to discover as a writer, as much as it might be for the reader.
Yeah. June 24th. Is there any reason you picked that date?
It's not the date, but it definitely June 2021 was chosen specifically.
Okay.
I liked the idea that I don't know if you remember June 2021, but that was supposed to be the white boy summer, right?
That's
Remember that
right.
was
Yeah.
the Chet
Yeah.
Hayes white boy summer. We were all going to have this great, we all got our shots. Trump was kind of in the background a little bit. The people were getting in a better space. We even talked about maybe going back to work and all, like it felt like we had gone through this traumatic, horrible experience. And we were going to come out the other side, and we all felt optimistic. We'd kind of go out there, and of course, later, then in August it was Afghanistan, and in the fall it was Omicron,
Mm.
and then it was dark, and then it was Let's Go Brandon, and then we were all back in the same crap that we were, along. But I love the idea of that time of catching these people when they have gone through like we all did, a very tumultuous. The original name of the book was Tumultuous Times,
Okay.
and we've gone through this very scary, tumultuous period, and they feel optimistic moving forward, and they're kind of rebuilding and restoring. Just to be waylaid with another terrible thing, like we all kind of were. So, I think that but certainly not any specific to June 24th, but the idea of it taking place at that specific time, which is funny because I started writing this in August 21. So at a certain level, there were things I thought were going to turn out better than they would that I had to kind of
Right.
adjust as I was kind of going along. But yeah, to have it specifically be during that time, it's certainly not a COVID book to any stretch of the imagination. You've read it; it's not a COVID book, but certainly it is a reflection of people that have just gone through this very terrible, isolating, scary, entirely out of control time, and how they reacted to it, and what they're hopeful for moving forward.
Yeah, I gotta say it was a little jarring, not in a bad way, but just kind of jarring reading a novel set kind of with COVID and kind of post COVID. Um, just because it
Yeah.
feels both so recent and both, oh man, we have art about this now. We have novels that are kind of set around this time now.
Yeah, and a lot of those really bad movies that came out shortly after, like the bubble, like the bad Judd Apatow movie, they definitely were more obsessed with what it feels like when you're in isolate. Like nobody cares about that. Like no one wants to be reminded of that. I don't want to be reminded of it. But I do think it's interesting to deal with the after period of that. Like this, this is a great joke about all horror movies are all now about trauma
Right.
and like it's like surviving trauma. And I think that's kind of interesting. The idea of like one of the themes of the book is that we are all connected, whether we realize we are not, whether we are or not. And even people that we might have huge, fundamental, profound differences with, we have similarities and can be of service and help to each other. And, I remember when not David Bowie, when Michael Jackson died. And in a way, never mind knowing all that happened with Mike, we discovered about Michael Jackson afterwards, or at least became more clear about Michael Jackson afterwards. But when that happened, people were saying like, well, this is the last universal human experience. Like this is
Right.
the idea that that now society and culture is too fractured. It's hard to find things that we all collectively experience. And to me, that one of the most remarkable things about COVID is like literally whether you were an Eskimo or you lived wherever you were in the world, COVID affected you. Like we were all affected by it. But rather than have that be a moment where we all said, wow, maybe that this is something I share with all of my fellow humans. Instead, it was you're handling it wrong and you're doing it wrong and you're
Right.
doing it wrong. And so, that is not the way I see the world. Like I don't. And there are certain that I have my core beliefs. And I have the things that I care about and the things that I value, and I'll stand behind them and for them. But I also don't think that if someone disagrees with me on something, it makes them a monster. And I don't understand how. It's very weird for me sometimes. People will be like, oh well, he's like this. How could you talk to that guy? I'm like, well, yeah, of course I disagree with him. He's a whole other person. Like it would be really weird if like we had different life experiences and different DNA and different people surrounding us, but we all agreed on the exact same thing. Who wants that? It's a very strange thing for me to have this sense that people want to be a part of a silo. I always joke about like I lived in New York for 13 years. The book is set in Athens. Lived in Athens for almost 10 years now. And I always joke that like my five best friends in Athens, like one's a preacher, one's a lawyer, one works in landscaping, one owns a board game cafe. My five best friends in New York they all worked in media like me. That's fine. That's fine. Like I love that. Like it's not like I dislike them because of it. But there is, I lived in Cobble Hill, Brooklyn. I love Cobble Hill, but it's hard to find anyone that will challenge me on anything in Cobble Hill. And so because we all agree, and we all find each other and self-select. And one of the things I love about Athens, it is different than that. It is different than that because it's a small town, but also a college town. I think a lot of college towns share the idea of a lot of different types of people compacted and having to kind of live together in a really interesting way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to write about that idea and about a universal human experience that that people share and maybe don't always appreciate. And I don't like people yelling at each other all the time. It feels weird. It doesn't feel like that's I don't know. It feels weird. And I'm trying to remind people that we all actually are just still dumb human beings.
Yeah, you mentioned Athens. I'm glad you did because that's one of the things that stood out reading the book. And obviously, both your books are set in Athens, but this one really, the kind of like reviewer thing. I think I wrote this on Goodreads. Is that it's a love letter to Athens, Georgia. But it really does. It really does kind of feel, and again, the cliche, the character is the setting's a character in the book. But really, kind of, and we're wondering about the Athens that's in this book and why. Like, did you intend it to be as prominent in the book as I took it?
I would say I love Athens, but I love Athens. I've been here for 10 years. I really love the place. I'm still a little bit of an outsider, which is not to say that people have not welcomed me and been very friendly, but I'm not from here. I'm from the Midwest. I lived in New York, and I felt like an outsider in New York. I felt like I'm a small town farm country kid adrift, really kind of wherever I am. So I'm able to kind of observe Athens and observe the people here and how different they are. And I find that interesting because, it is a kind of a special thing about Athens that you've got this music community that's been ingrained for a long time. You've got the college community, which this is a very, very, not only a blue city and county, but a very blue. One nice thing about the election in 2020, everybody in America learned all the counties in Georgia.
Yeah.
And so I'm always like, oh yeah, that's Clark. That's one of the blue ones. But like the rest of America, go 10 miles outside of town and you find something outside of a blue area and you find a red area. And those people converge. There's rural areas, there's sports, which is an entirely big part of town. There's so many different type of people that live here. And but they still all have to live together, right? I used to always joke growing up, growing up in central Illinois, it was different than the Red Sox Cardinals Cubs was different than the Red Sox Yankees rivalry because where I grew up, it was about 50-50 Cubs fans and Cardinal fans, maybe 65 Cardinals, 35 Cubs. So you couldn't, and we were all Illini fans. So like you had to find like something that you combine them on, and people all live together and disagree with each other and don't hate each other. And I miss that. I miss a place where a bunch of different people, that's one of the things I love about Athens. People just you have to interact with people that disagree with you on things. You have no choice. And how you react to that And I think the people that handle it correctly are the ones that recognize we are all like, that were, I remember right after they stormed the Capitol, I looked online and like someone that like I was in the carpool line on Facebook was putting Stop the Steal up or something. And that doesn't change the fact that I will see them at a PTA meeting and I will see them and I don't know how it benefits me or my kids or their kids to get in some stupid yell and fight about it. Everybody's got to live together. And so I love that about Athens, that I'm going to guess that's something that my friends in Cobble Hill don't run into that often. I'm not saying that's great, awesome. We need more people that think the Capitol bill, so that it was a peaceful protest. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that like being able to being forced to interact with people that are different than you is one of the things I love about Athens. And more to the point, spoke to my larger theme that I was trying to do with the book, which is the idea that like we are all connected in ways that may even feel strange to us and may be surprising to us. That hopefully that comes across in the book.
So I've read you in your newsletter, and I think I've seen you in interviews that both how lucky and the time have come are like your clearest distillation of how you view the world, and you've talked about how we're all connected as the theme. Does that? I'm curious. Did that come out in your writing, or did you? What came first, that worldview or the writing? Did you learn it by writing it, or did you bring it to the writing?
I want. I mean, it is certainly an overarching worldview. I wish I could like get a new worldview just by writing something about it. But I do think that it certainly wasn't. The goal was not to I'm going to make people feel good. Like, to be honest, there were one of the jokes, I keep saying this when I talk about the book, and I keep saying my editor tells me not to say it, but I keep saying it anyway, because which is like, in a lot of ways this is a feel good book about a shooting, if that possibly could make sense.
And it absolutely is, yeah.
And that is definitely not a way to sell it, just to be as clear as possible. But there were other versions, initial ideas of this book that were not feel good books. I'll put it that way. And so, but I think I naturally am going to veer in that way because I do. This is a thing that this is true for Daniel, and I think it's true for the characters of this book. They think people are good, and they're not always good. They clearly are not always good. Look around; we see people are not being good all the time. But I think people want to be. I think people get scared. I think people get angry. I think people are driven by things. They get lonely. They get isolated, and they turn towards things that are destructive. But with obvious exceptions, Hitler sucked. Fuck that guy. But with obvious exceptions, I do think people want to be good. I think they at a certain level, people want to be safe, and they want their people that they love to be happy, and they do not want other people to suffer. I think that, and I think most people deep down believe that. I think in the age of the internet, it's become kind of everything. It's become like kind of this performative pose to be. I think people pretend to be more cynical than they actually are, and I think you almost get like social capital out of doing it, to be like, well, you think things are bad, I think things are worse, but like, yeah, and yet somehow you are still out here consuming culture and making it through everything. It doesn't mean you can't criticize it. We should all be constantly criticizing, but we're still like, people are still, we're still trying. We're still out there trying. We still, like, if we actually believed everything was as lost as often our performative social media avatars would have people think, we would, none of us would be able to make it through the day. I think people want to do well, and I recognize that inherently there's probably a level of I feel like I've been very fortunate in life, and I'm surrounded by people that by good people, and people have asked me like, wow, well, the characters in your book are really nice. Like, they're generally really, they're flawed, and they certainly have problems, but they're generally nice. And people ask why that is. And on one hand, I think I would say that on one hand, I probably am mostly surrounded by nice people, but also you spend a lot of time with a book. And I tend to like to surround myself with nice people, and it's more fun to surround yourself with nice people than to surround yourself with horrible people. So that's why I had a hard time. Of all the characters I've written in the last two books, the one I had the hardest time with is Jonathan from How Lucky, because it's I don't understand him, and I don't understand. I know those people are out there, but I don't entirely understand them. So ultimately, on How Lucky, I just kind of punted, and I was like, he's an idiot. That's his thing. He's an idiot. And but maybe I just think people that are really bad like that, maybe that's just what I think of them. Maybe I just think they're idiots.
So you have the seven characters in the book, and and they're all kind of, I guess, main characters in a way, right? Is they're all kind of
Yeah.
part and parcel of the story. So how did you work on? How did you develop their individual voices in the way that they sound authentic? That it's they're not all seven white dudes from the Midwest who like
Right.
sports like you. But so how did you kind of work to develop their voices in a way that kind of sounded authentic to who they are?
Well, part of part of his research in the same way that understanding getting the details about Daniel with SMA is research. But but that's more like, David works at a music club, so I talked to a lot of people that worked in music clubs, and that will like that's more like just get those details right. What you have to figure out first is what motivates them and what they want to be, and what and how that differs from who they are.
Okay.
And I it helps I wrote them all separately. Again, I was really worried, and people can tell me again, I don't know what's going to happen. People can all read the book and be like, "Wow, all seven of these characters sound like Will Leitch." I hope not. I certainly hope not, but I don't know. I can't tell. But the goal was not to have that, and so I think that what you do is you want what you're really trying to do. I love each one of those characters, even Tina. I love all the characters. And so I find myself when I'm writing it, I'm trying to sell the reader on the character, why they should care about them, why they should believe in them, why they should see their problems, why they should. It doesn't mean, I mean, literally, like it's funny. There was a movie that came out a while back called Stillwater with Matt Damon, and well, it's based off the Amanda Knox story, where he's like this gruff Oklahoma real American, wears Carhartt stuff. It's clearly Matt Damon being like, "We get the real America Trump voters on," and he basically goes to Paris to try to get his daughter out of jail, and falls in love with this Parisian artist woman. It's a dumb movie, but there's a moment where she asks him, she's like, "Well, you're like, I'm sure you voted for Trump." And this to me is what the movie's about. Like, well, you're making this movie. Clearly, he's coded Trump voter the entire time. That's why Damon plays him that way. That's kind of why the movie exists in a certain level. And when that moment happens, he says, "Well, I had a felony, so I couldn't vote at all." And I'm like, "You suck, movie! Like, come on, like have the courage of your own convictions." And like if you want to make a likable character as a Trump voter, make a likable character who's a Trump voter. Don't get to a point and be like, "Oh no, don't worry, I had a felony, I didn't vote for him," because certain people are going to turn certain people are turned off. And to me, Jason explicitly says he voted for Trump. He actually has a Trump shirt, though by accident, as we kind of learn in the story. And I feel like that Jason is a character that I love, and I think has a lot of good things in the world and means well and wants to do the right thing. That does not mean that I don't think Donald Trump is a horrible person who is a fundamental threat to American society. If you're asking me to make the case for Trump, I can't. I can make the case for. I actually think that 47% of the country are irredeemable monsters. I just don't. I just don't. And maybe I when I'm writing someone like Jason, I'm trying to sell the reader on why they should care about him, not why they should agree with him, not why they think that they should think everything he does is right, but why they should be able to, if not, even if they don't care about him, they should be able to empathize. They should be able to understand where he's coming from and what motivates him. And so that I am not like Jason, other than we both like to work a lot. I'm not like, but I would say that like I understand where Jason, I know people like Jason, and just because I think that there are things that they believe that I are wrong or even abhorrent in some cases, I don't think that it makes them. I think stripping them from their humanity allows us. to turn them into something that allows us not to, we're going to have to get through this at some point, right? Like at some point, like it is unsustainable that half of the country hates the other half. It's unsustainable. And it's not actually been like this throughout all, that just hasn't. It has not been like this throughout most of my life. And so, I think that we're going to have to break out of it at some point. And I think one way to do that is to try to empathize with people, even if you think the actions and the way that they respond to their motivations and external stimuli are wrong and destructive. And that's the goal with the characters. I also think the way that I agree with. I also try to do the same thing with them, but that's the goal.
So I always ask this question every time you've been on, but I'll throw a little twist on this one since you're a movie guy too. Best thing you've read lately and best movie you've seen lately?
The best thing I've read, it's funny, this is going to sound weird, but for my next project, I don't know if I'm going to do this project yet, but I'm actually reading The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich right now, which is some nice light reading.
Yeah.
It's 1,300 pages of a lot of horrible shit. But it's done by the guy that wrote it, who won the Pulitzer Prize for it. He was an old Stars and Stripes newspaper reporter.
Oh, nice.
Who was covering. He was he was stationed in Germany for in the lead up to World War II, and so saw all of this on the ground, writing for the Stars and Stripes newspaper. And I had forgotten how much I missed that certain kind of no nonsense, but also with a twist of a sense of humor, writing of like hard-bitten newspaper dudes from like the 50s.
Right.
And to have that way written about the rise and fall of the Third Reich is really, really fascinating. So I'm loving the book is a wrong term, but it is surprisingly readable. Is probably the best way to put it. I wasn't really expecting it to be that. So
that's an interesting jacket blurb for it, but we'll go with it.
Yes, interestingly readable. So it's really good and really well done. And I find it the main surprise I've kind of taken from it, not surprise, but there was a part of me that felt like I wondered if like there was something about that movement that in the beginning they almost meant well and it just got out of hand. Like, and it wasn't. They were just fucking monsters from like the very beginning. And that was just like, I was a surprise because I knew they were monsters, but it's just, I don't know. It's anyway, I recommend everyone read it if they get a chance. The best thing I just saw just last night, the movie that The Time Has Come is based on, which is Robert Altman's Shortcuts.
Okay.
I try to watch that movie every couple of years. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It obviously inspired The Time Has Come, which is about a lot of different characters who could end up converging in one kind of universal event. It is an incredible movie, and it's almost completely lost because it's not available for streaming. You can't stream it. That's a contractual issue. It came out. It's a 30-year anniversary of it, and but it's not available for streaming. But it's all in the Criterion Collection DVD. Cannot recommend it enough. One of Jack Lemmon's last great performances. Robert Downey Jr. before like not only Iron Man, but before like Ally McBeal recover from drug stuff. Like way back, and a extended cameo from Alex Trebek. So a terrific movie. I cannot recommend it.
Is this Wonder Boys era Robert Downey Jr.?
Right before that.
Right before that. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, right before that. Around Wonder Boys, he still had not complete. It was right around Chaplin era.
Okay.
When it was.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. We'll have links to that. We'll have links to buy The Time Has Come, or pre-ordered if you're ordering this before the 16th. Those will all be in show notes. Will, this is as always, this was a blast. Thanks so much.
Of course. Thank you. I hope you, and thank you for your kind words about the book. I hope, I'm glad you liked it. And I hope other people like it too.
Thanks for listening to The Other 51. Show notes for this and all of our episodes can be found at sportsmediaguide.com by clicking on the Other 51 tab. If you like the show, please consider giving it a rating and a review, either at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. It really does help people find the show. Our theme music is by Ellie Moritz.